He got to the court door and the parents of the kids said, we can't put the kids through it. So the police and other organisations have got real concerns about this individual. His CRB might say it's clear, but there's lots of soft information that goes with it. What that body can share with that body and that body, today and age of European law and sharing of information, is actually very limited. Some organisations look at a CRB and find that somebody's been banned from football, a football banning order for whatever reason. Some people think it's okay for him or her to work with kids. The Football Association said, well, we don't want to stop them, but we need to sit down and talk to them. So at the moment, the reason why you have more than one is it's that sharing of information. At the end of last year, the CRB was going to go. When I first got involved with it, it was a long time ago, it was a police check. Then it was a CRB check. Then it was an enhanced CRB check. At the end of last year, they were supposed to be bringing in what they call the ISA, the Independent Safeguarding Authority. But the government then decided not to bring that in. Why? Because we need to save some money. And if you look at the CRB form now, it's actually an amalgamation of the CRB and the ISA. So it's a little bit of both. Would you object to having a CRB check done? Of course you would. When I fill it in, I always fill it in blue, and then halfway through I realised it should have been in black. I put a tick and it should have been in it. And I pay me money. Because for 3 years, when I look at it, it works out about 10 pence a week. And if somebody says to me, I ain't filled one of those in, my first question is, I wonder why. Next group. Give us one.
First aid.
Why?
Because the safety of the child is important.
When you go to watch games, not all games, but some games, and two kids have run into each other, and one of them's lying on the floor, the other one gets up, on comes, as they're called now, the medical support. Not all, but what do some people carry with them?
Magic sponge.
Bottle of water and a fag. If you see them with a sponge, you might want to mention they were actually banned 10 years ago. I used to play for the team, and the bloke used to rub the sponge in my knee and go whack in the knee. I said to him one day, that sponge is black, it's filthy. He said, well, I'm not surprised, I watched the calibre with it yesterday. But who cares about that? And then it went in the bucket, and it stayed in there till the following Sunday. Then the following Sunday, the first thing you used to do was get the sponge out and cut the fungus off it. And then it was back. I watched a game down here one day, two kids run into each other, one's left lying on the floor. On came England's finest with his bottle of water and his fag. And somebody said to him, Charlie, you got your fag on the go. So he chucked it off. All right, he burnt the substitute in the eye, you know, and these things happen. He got to the kid and he took the lid off. I thought he was going to drown that kid. He actually drank the water himself and he said to the kid, that looks horrible, you need to run it off. The kid had actually snapped his Achilles tendon. Eventually we got the ambulance and the kid went off in the ambulance. And I said to the dad, do you realise how lucky you are? And he said, what do you mean by that? I said, because if your kid was in a life-threatening situation, all that bloke had got was his fingers crossed, a fag. 99% of training games go ahead without a problem. And it's just as well. Why? Because too many people have got a bottle of water and the fingers crossed. Most injuries, it's a kick here, it's a band there, can you carry on? No, get off it. Can you carry on? Yeah, I think so, well I'm going to watch it. And if I think it needs to come off, you're coming on. What about if it's that life-threatening situation? And what about if it's your kid? And somebody walks on to look after your kid with the fingers crossed. Good. Move in the middle. Why?
Because they get the best done. Please do a qualify.
Good. This group.
We feel that the club should be FI chartered.
What's charter standard? Charter standard is a kite mark from the Football Association to say at this club, they certainly do that. They've got that, and some other things as well. There's a kite mark there, you can use the FA logo. The FA do not give money out to anybody. They got much themselves. But if somebody applies for funding, the first question they ask is, are you charter standard? It helps. Up and down the country, and the Birmingham County FA now, there is charter standard leagues. I would say in the next 12 months, every kids league in Birmingham County and probably the country will be charter standard. So every club that enters is given time and help, but they've got to meet that criteria. Good. At the back. Oh, that one a few. Oh, all right, so all right, I'm certain beat that. Good. This group is another one.
Contact details.
Who's?
The coaches and the clubs.
Who needs whose details?
They need yours as well.
They need ours, and we're there in case there's a problem. With kids' details, what's the key word in brackets afterwards? Confidential. We give these kids' details out on a need-to-know basis. And then you have a look at some kids' clubs' websites for people who want to get a kid for the wrong reason. It's like a telephone directory. We had a guy, a kid in the county FA, who actually had a few issues with a certain adult. Cut a long story short, the adult actually met the kid coming out of school and started talking to the kid. This adult knew everything about the kid. Have a guess where the adult got the information? On the Saturday, the kid had been mastered at a professional game. And there, in the middle 2 pages, was the kid's life story and his picture. Hello, are you Johnny Smith?
Yeah.
Are you sleeping? No. Good. I see you play, don't you?
Yeah.
Who do you play for? He dreams of. I was talking about football. Good. And it says, I read about you, and it says that you're top goal scorer, is that right?
Yeah.
How many goals did you get last season?
25.
Did your brother play? I see you got a brother, didn't you?
Yeah, he does.
Who does he play for?
Yeah.
How do I know all that about it? Well, it was in the program.
I used to told you.
I did the joke, sir. And all we need to do is remove the kid's photograph. Because the kid knows who he is. His parents or her parents know who he is. So the guidelines is, if we're giving lots of information about the individual, there's not a photograph to attach him or her to. Good. Last couple. Anybody?
Safe environment.
Expand. What can we do to make the environment safe? Gentlemen? Good. What else can we do to make the environment safe?
Sure that you've got proper equipment.
Check the pitch, check the equipment, check the goals. And we check all that. I'm sure not your team. We've checked all that and the game then starts. And have a guess what happens? The adults start bawling, shouting and screaming. We can check the pitch and we need to. We can check the goals and we need to. We can check the equipment and we need to. What we need to do more than anything is create a safe, happy and healthy environment where the kids can play. The last generation of street footballers that we had won the World Cup in 1966. But we've got no streets left. The car has taken over. There's nowhere for the kids, very few places for the kids to play. So what we need is good people like you. What the kids need is good people like you to recreate the street where nobody told him or her to get rid of it. Nobody told him or her to just play one touch. The kids play and play and play and play, and that's how they discover the game in a safe and happy, healthy environment. And the last thing I'd say is the club has to have a CWO. What's a CWO?
Child Welfare Officer.
Child Welfare Officer, Club Welfare Officer, whatever you want to call it. Who says the club has to have one of them? The law. The law says that a regular activity provider, like a school, like a creche, or like a kids' football club, has to have a designated person. So if the adults or if the kids want to go and speak to somebody in confidence, have a guess who it is. So at your club or organisation, make sure you know who it is. I did a course the other night. This bloke said to me, I'll be honest with you, Tom, I couldn't tell you who our welfare officer is. His mate who sat next to him and they've worked together for about 10 years said it's me. If you need to speak to somebody in confidence, then it's your welfare officer. Very good, well done. What's the target? The target is to get the right people with qualifications. Not just with a qualification, but also with the right attitude. I've met people who've qualified to drive the car. And when you watch them drive the car, they're on a mobile phone, eating a McDonald's with a drink between their knees. They might have a bit of paper to say they've passed the qualification. But have they got the right behaviour? And do they know about Johnny and Jenny? Because if we're going to work with Johnny and Jenny, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, it's the most important time of their life. You took your kid along to this club, he or she's in the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever group, and you're watching now the manager and the coach are training on the games. What sort of behaviour would you expect from him or her? In your group, 2 minutes,